you can't make this stuff up category. Two amazing stories. This is the first from Politico, the second from the Daily Beast. The Politico story, the headline, House staffers, this is in the House of Representatives. The Cannon office building is, one of there's like half a dozen giant office buildings that all the members of the House and the Senate have their offices in. Cannon building is for members of the House of Representatives. House staffers could have been drinking lead-tainted water for months. And they're telling the story of one woman who's like an assistant chief of staff to somebody who just had a baby. And her husband, he writes, she had been drinking the now contaminated fountain water throughout her pregnancy, and for years before that, he said, I'm not going to name the guy, but you can read the story. He's a chief of staff to Representative Dennis Ross, Republican from Florida. And his wife works for Representative Paul Gosar, the Republican from Arizona. And she gave birth to a baby boy last week. And he said, we're concerned that our newborn is at risk, yet we received no updates or guidance. Well, geez, you guys work for Republicans. What do you expect? He said, it's shocking that my wife and others have to go through this, and it's upsetting that no screening centers were set up for high-risk people such as pregnant moms in advance of sending this shallow missive this morning. That was an email that went out to everybody saying, oh, by the way, we just noticed that there's high levels of lead in the water here. Cannon Water Building, or the Cannon Office Building. Danielle suggested this morning, if they're going to fix this, they should pass a law saying that they can't fix the lead problem here in the Capitol building, where the legislators work, until they fix Flint and every other city in America that's got lead in its water. The other, amazing, mind-boggling story. The Zika mosquitoes? It's the Aedes aegypti mosquito. It's also the one that carries dengue fever and a bunch of other diseases. It's actually an import into the United States. We never had them in North America. And the best guess is that it was brought in with a load of tires into Miami, in the water from Southeast Asia. But who knows? I mean, there's also stories that there was an intentional release of these mosquitoes at one point, et cetera, et cetera. But in any case, they are, somebody noticed that the Washington Monument, the giant phallic symbol at the end of the mall. See, no building in Washington, in the District of the Goddess, is supposed to be taller than the top of the head of the goddess on top of the Capitol building. But in 1847, when they started construction on the Washington Monument, Congress actually had to pass a law overriding its own rule on that, so that this giant phallic symbol could be built taller than the head of the goddess. Anyhow, somebody noticed that there was a whole bunch of mosquitoes flying around the Washington Monument. And so this biologist goes down there, this scientist, 34-year-old Adam Lima, a mosquito biologist, as well as a musician and a rapper who goes by the name MC Bugsy. And he goes down and he checks out the mosquitoes, and guess what? They're Aedes aegypti mosquitoes. They're the Zika virus mosquitoes here in Washington, D.C. As the Republicans proposed in the Senate, and Bernie and a bunch of other people are saying, no way. Bernie put a hold on this bill, forced a filibuster on this bill, saying, okay, sure, we'll fund the Zika virus. So the CDC says it wants $1.6 billion. We'll give you $1.1 billion. And by the way, you got to cut funding to Planned Parenthood, and which is totally bizarre because the Zika virus could be transmitted sexually. Cut funding to Planned Parenthood, and you've got to agree to put Confederate flags in federal cemeteries. So the Republicans said, yes, we'll fund Zika if you let us take a whack at women and cater to the right-wing white bigots in the South. I mean, it's perfect Republican. Right? It's what you would expect, I guess, from the Republicans. And then the Democrats are saying, no, we're not going to vote for this stupid piece of legislation. And so then Mitch McConnell calls a press conference and says, well, I can't figure out why the Democrats are politicizing this thing. Mitch McTurtle. I don't know what we're going to do now. I'll tell you what, you have to come up with some reasonable legislation.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.